Alright guys, it's time to cut down my pull list. Let's talk about why, and then figure out a plan of attack. What's up guys, BJ Kicks here. I buy comics, I read them, and I review them, all for your viewing pleasure. So if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. Now on this channel I do comic book unboxings, reviews, haul videos, and everything in between. So if you're interested in that type of content, hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell icon. That way you're notified when new videos of mine go live. Now, today's video is about, adult topics, right? We're budgeting. We're talking about why we decide to buy the things we buy and when we decide or how we decide that we've had enough. We've done enough. We've bought enough. We've spent enough, right? So if you guys have been following me for a little while and you watch my weekly pull list video, which is called What I'm Getting, then you know I've been trying really hard to cut down my list of comics every week. So I try to stick to a budget of about $50 a week, which, theoretically is enough room for 10 to 12 books on my pull list every week. But for whatever reason, after months of racking up titles and trying out new series and stuff, I found myself spending $80, $100, even $120 some weeks. And so I was like, all right, this thing is out of control. And then beyond that, there's some other things that I wanted to do. And so ultimately, I've made the decision that I'm going to cut down my pull list. Now, I wanted to give you guys the reasons that I'm cutting my pull list, just in case it helps somebody out, right? I mean, with these comic book channels, most of us are always showing off the latest vlog or the latest haul, the latest mail call, the latest unboxing. A lot of people are showing off what they buy. They're not necessarily showing off, how they bought it, right? You don't necessarily know if someone sells a bunch of books in order to have the money to buy a bunch of books. You don't know what people do for their day jobs. You don't know what people do for side hustles or sponsorships or whatever. And so, a lot of times watching these people, comic book influencers, buy a bunch of stuff makes you want to buy a bunch of stuff too. So I figured if I gave you kind of the behind the scenes and how I'm making my decisions, it might help you out. It might lessen your FOMO, your fear of missing out. And it might reinforce some things that you've been thinking about. So let's go with the reasons that I'm cutting my pull list, right? Aside from the obvious budget reasons, right? I mean, we did just have another baby. We just moved into a house. So, our expenses are growing a little bit. And it's nice to not spend so much money on comics. But budget aside, there are plenty of reasons to cut down your pull list and to, get down the amount or lessen the amount of books you're reading every week. So the first reason, the number one reason why I'm cutting down my pull list is I have no time to read. Like I said, we just had a newborn. My daughter is 5 months old, but she was born prematurely. So developmentally, she's like a 2-month-old. So we spend a lot of time rocking the baby and feeding her and just keeping her entertained, right? A lot of time that I can't really spend reading. So when I started out in this hobby, I was working, full-time in an office, and I was working in a call center. So I was taking calls. My job was kind of hands off. Like if I wasn't on a call, I had a bunch of free time between calls. There was a comic shop like basically across the street from my job. And so I would go to the comic shop, buy a bunch of issues, and I'd have most of them read before I ever left work that day. Well, that's not the case anymore. My job is a lot more hands-on now. I do a lot more, and I generally don't have time to read comics during the workday. So if I'm not reading comics during the workday, I got to read them, when work is over. But like I said, at that time, we got stuff going on with the baby. I have a whole YouTube channel, so I got to shoot videos and edit videos. There's just not enough hours in the day. Sometimes I find that I might be able to sneak an hour in here and there on the weekend and just kind of binge read books. So having a stack of 15, 20 books to read when you don't have that much time to read them is just insane. So what I found over the last few months is that books are just stacking and stacking and stacking on my to read pile. And it's just kind of overwhelming. So I got to stop buying so many books so that I actually have time to read them, and so that the hobby is enjoyable and not overwhelming for me. Right. So like I said, I have no time to read. The second reason is there's way too many books, on my pull list, man. Like, and this honestly is too many books and not enough time is basically all the same reason. But I mean, there's just a lot of books out, right? Like, the hill that I'll die on is I'll try to collect pretty much every Batman book and pretty much every X-Men book. But those happen to be the two biggest franchises in comics. There are like 15 Batman books right now that are ongoing series. I know there's 1 month where there's like 50 Batman related titles between original graphic novels, limited series, maxi series, and then ongoing series. Like, it is insane the number of mentions or the number of books that Batman gets in the DC universe. And so I have to just kind of draw the line and say, you know what? Some of these I'm just not buying. Now, outside of the, too many books, not enough time, another major factor is the money, right? There's a lot of things that I would like to buy, but I can't buy comics and diapers and the other things that I want to buy, right? So one thing I want to invest in is an iPad. And part of it is because I want to like read comics digitally. But another part of it is iPads can do a lot. I want to get back into drawing. Being able to draw digitally would just be really dope. You can edit videos on an iPad. There's a lot of things you can do on an iPad. And I think I want to make that move. But I mean, that's like a $1,300 investment. So cutting out some comics will definitely help with that. But beyond the money for, an iPad, I want to buy a new camera. This camera doesn't have autofocus. I love getting great quality videos out to you guys. And so I want to upgrade this camera eventually, and also have a new camera for my live stream. So there's other things I want to be able to buy. And so you got to cut out money. I mean, you can't just buy everything unless you have unlimited income. I don't have unlimited income. My income is quite limited. But anyway, and I also just want to leave room for impulse shopping. The budget of $50 a week is honestly not bad, and it's not even bad that I spend, like 80 to 100, right? I can afford it. That's not the issue. But if you have like $80 worth of books on your pull list, well, I did. And like I said, my income is different. Then everybody's income is different. So whatever, you have a maximum number that you'd like to hit, right? I think it's pretty good to stay below that maximum, because here's something that I do a lot. I'll go to the comic shop and I'll grab my weekly titles. Those are held for me behind the counter. And cool, I got my weekly stack, but then there's a ratio variant behind the counter. And I'm like, ooh, that looks good. Or there's a new independent series that I didn't know about, and it's on the featured table. Or there's a new collected edition that came out that comes highly recommended. Or something that happened to me just earlier today, they got new art boxes in. They got new short boxes to put your single issues in. I need one of those, right? There's always room for impulse purchases, whether it's an action figure, a statue, or any other things I listed above. So because I want to have room for my impulse buys, I always know there's something that Dan is going to sell me at Ultimate Comics Rally that I didn't have plans for, but I mean, I can squeeze out that extra money. I want to make sure that I actually have room for that without jeopardizing anything else. And so I need to cut down my pull list. So those are all the reasons that go into, my decision. So right now, like I said, my budget is about $50 a week. That's about 10 to 12 titles. I might even try to slim it down a little bit more. Like if I challenge myself to just $40 a week, or maybe I just challenge myself to limit myself to just 9 books every week. So every week I got to do a top 9, maybe a top 10, just because then we can kind of rank them at the end of the week. But my goals overall, I want to have room for impulse buys. I want to be able to save up for other larger purchases. But more than anything, I want to be able to read my books, right? At the end of every video, I tell you to read what you buy. Meanwhile, I got a stack of comics up to the ceiling because I bought too much stuff. I want to be able to, when I do my weekly pull list video, I want to say, hey, I read this series 2 weeks ago and I love it. Instead of saying, oh, I'm behind on this, but when I get caught up, nah, man, nah. I want to be able to confidently tell you why I'm buying something and not just say, oh, I liked it 2 issues ago, so hopefully I still like it. Time's out for that. So in order to get caught up on my reading pile and to, make room for other things in the budget, I'm cutting down my pull list. Now let's talk about what I'm doing instead. So if you don't want to buy single issues every week, right, there's a couple things you can do. The first and probably most obvious thing is to read them digitally, right? You can buy or you can have a Marvel Unlimited subscription. DC Universe has a subscription. Amazon has Comixology Unlimited. So there are tons of ways you can read comics all the time. The only downside is with each of those services, there's a delay between when the date the comics come out and the date they're available to read. So the earliest you can read a book on Marvel Unlimited after its release is 3 months. So you'll always be 3 months behind the stories. If you watch comic book YouTubers, they're going to spoil things for you all the time. And that's something you got to think about. But it's something that will save you a ton of money. I mean, each of those services that I named costs a maximum of $10 a month. So $30 a month versus $50 a week, it's hard to argue with. So yeah, going digital is one thing, and it's something that I'm interested in, but like I said, I don't have an iPad yet. And reading comics digitally on a computer screen, or even worse, on a phone screen, it's not my jam. But when my daughter was in the hospital had an iPad that we use at the bedside. And so I would go to the comics websites on that. And I really liked the experience of reading comics digitally on a tablet. And so, like I said, I'm interested in an iPad for that reason. And when that happens, I'll probably will go digital for a few of these series. One, because it'll save me some money, but also it'll save me some space in these boxes, right? So that's one thing that I'll do. But my preferred route of buying stories is collected editions. So collected editions, trade paperbacks, omnibus, oversized hardcovers. I think those are just the best way to read stories. So you guys have seen in my videos, every month I do an omnibus haul or a graphic novel haul. And I just love having the art oversized. I love walking into this room and seeing all the collected editions on my shelves or on the walls. And I love being able to just pick up a book one day and read through it, right? Trades are a great way to do that. Now, the only thing with trade waiting is, again, you got to wait for all 6 issues in an arc to come out before the book comes out. So you'll still be behind and stuff like that. But that's way better than spending all your money on comics, right? The average comic book is $3.99. The average trade contains between 4 and 6 comic book issues, and the average trade is anywhere from $10 to $12. So you're saving some money, especially if you use those discount sites online. You could save a lot of money by switching to collected editions. Now, speaking of saving money on collected editions, I got to shout out our channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. They're the best place to look online for collected editions for all of your collected edition needs. I love them. They ship super fast. They pack all your books well. JP and his team have been doing a phenomenal job of continuing the tradition of great customer service, even through periods of explosive growth at their company. So if you want to buy books in collected edition format, if you want the oversized hardcovers, the omnis, and things like that, you should check out Organic Price Books. Right now, they have a really cool thing going on. If you pre-order the trade paperback Home by Julio Anta, he is doing an exclusive signed book plate just for people that buy from Organic Price Books. And you can save an extra $2 on every order if you use my coupon code BJKicks. So shout out to Organic Price Books, the best place to look for books every single time. So yeah, I plan to buy a lot more collected editions. I've been spending my money on collected editions anyway, so maybe I'll drop The Flash and wait for the trade to come out. It's so dicey with DC though. You never know which books DC is gonna actually collect. But I want to make sure I have room in the budget. So those are all the reasons that I decided I'm going to cut my pull list down. And I gave you a little bit of preview of what I'm going to do instead. How do you guys make the decision as to what's going to stay on your pull list? How many books do you average a week? How does that affect your budget? Do you like the amount you're spending? Do you feel like you should be spending less? I want to hear about all of that in the comments below. While you're down there, you should check out the description for links to all of our channel sponsors and my private Facebook group, the K Squad. I'd love to see you inside. But until the next time, hope you saw something you liked in this video. And if not, that's cool. So you can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy. And be nice to others, because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.